everybody. Like a lot of you tonight, I had a real hard time coming up. I mean, Amanda hit it too. Like, I thought long and hard about something that I could talk about for 5 minutes that I was passionate about, that I thought you guys might want to hear about. So I'm going to talk tonight about triathlons, and that's sort of my latest addiction and latest craze. And I'll just start it off by saying, if I told you guys that 7 years ago I weighed 240 pounds and barely did any exercise, you know, would you believe me? And if I told you that 8.5 years ago I weighed 185 pounds and just finished playing varsity hockey at Waterloo, would you also believe that? So it was a bit of a weight roller coaster that I really went on after school. And it really started when I got out into the real world and the wheels sort of fell off. I had a long-term relationship that broke off, and like any good male, I thought, hell, I need 2 days to get over this and I'm on my way. But for 2.5 years I proceeded to abuse my body and eat poorly, drink heavily on weekends. And one day I sort of hit the tipping point where at 240 pounds I woke up and the blinders were sort of off, and I looked in the mirror and I had no idea who this person was that was staring back at me, and that was sort of the aha moment that, holy crap, man, you better do something or else you're on a slippery slope at a really, really early age. So right there I sort of made the decision that this was time to get my health back under control, because it's one thing to have prosperity in certain parts of your life, whether it be financial or career or relationship or anything else like that, but if you don't have total balance, and health is a huge one for me, then I find that you can be great and you can, you know, you see these people and it's really horrible when you see someone that works so hard all their life and, you know, becomes a multi-millionaire and then they die at 47, you know, and they can never ever enjoy what they've worked so hard for. And that to me would be the ultimate letdown to yourself, because you've busted, you know, yourself, I'm not going to swear here, but you've, you know, busted your butt for like 40-some years, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, Elaine. And then you can't enjoy it, right? So I slowly started getting back into running, and it was a battle. I mean, I thought someone was standing on my chest, and I could barely get 3 kilometers in, and I slowly progressed. I got into 5Ks, and I got the bug again, and I started running, and I hit 10K, and then I sort of made a goal, and I'm sure a lot of us here are goal-oriented, and we sort of set those, whether it's in writing or whether it's, you know, on paper, and I tend to put them down. And so I put down a goal that I wanted to run a half marathon, and that was the first distance race that I'd ever done. So, you know, around this time, just before this time, I'd met my now wife, Robin, and she really has been a huge influence on me and has been a big, big, big reason why I turned things around. So when I met her, I was 215 pounds. And Robin's background is she did her undergrad in nutrition at Guelph, and she did 4 years in naturopathic college in Toronto. So she's naturopath with a nutrition undergrad. So this is like, you know, that's exactly what I could have asked or put it out there, and you know, look at the universe gave me, right? Here's this person to turn Darryl around and save him from the slippery slope, right? So, and she was great. So I was 215, and she really opened my eyes to just how poorly I was eating. You know, sorry, you know, you're gonna hate it, but I would eat McDonald's all the time and this and that, and I really, like, I cut that out. I cut out the pizzas, I cut out the crap, I slowed down on the drinking, and it really started to turn the corner. And that's when running became easier, and I really started to see some improvements. And she was a big runner, so that was a great, you know, I'd be laying in bed and it's 6:30 and the alarm's off and she's up and out the door, and I'm sort of going, whoa man, you better get out there, right? Because you got to keep up, and we're both competitive, and so we push each other. And so we did our first half marathon, and it was great. I was hooked. I'm like, you know, this is fantastic, I'm doing another one. And I don't know if it was just the high of finishing a race, you know, something like that, or if it was temporary insanity, and it might have been that too, but we quickly signed up for another one, and we did 2 that year. And so I thought, great, what's next? You know, like anybody who's sort of in that competitive nature, and you know, you set that next goal and set that next goal. So we said, okay, let's do a full marathon. So the 2 of us committed, and we started training for that, and we did that the next year. And then we ran that, and it was one of the hardest things I've probably ever done. And you know, you've pushed yourself in hockey or other sports pretty hard at times, but for 3 hours and 45 minutes to continually run, it was pretty insane looking back at it. But it was just the biggest accomplishment, like one of the biggest ones that I've had to date, and I was really proud. And then I was completely exhausted and wiped for 2.5 weeks, so I thought, okay, I might not want to do that ever again. So I started just running again in 10Ks, and my cousin, who owns a clinic, Dearborn Health, in town here, he's big into triathlons, and he had been doing them for a while, and he got talking to me and said, you know, maybe you should try one. And when I look at him, he truly is one of the guys who is a mentor and an inspiration to me, because at the time when he was telling me this, he had already completed 2 Ironman races and was training for his 3rd to try and compete for the Ironman Worlds. And for any of you guys who might not know what that takes, it's a 4-kilometer swim, 180K bike, and a 42K run in the same day. So these guys are going out there. The good guys are doing it in 9.5 hours, and the average person, they say, should be able to do it in 12 or 12.5 hours. So here's, my cousin who's done 2 of them. He's training for his 3rd. He's missed the World Championships by 4 spots, and he's saying, well, you should try it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so, but I'm not doing that. There's no way. This is just insane. So I tried my first sprint triathlon, which is just a 750 swim, a 33K bike, and a 7K run. And when I decided to do it, it was 7 weeks before the race. And the problem was I hadn't been in a pool except for, give me a pina colada, I'm in Mexico. This is great, for like 17 or 18 years. So I'm thinking, how the hell is this anchor going to swim? And get 750 meters in a lake. Dark bottom, you can't see, you can't stop, you can't put your feet down and take a little breather here, you're doggy paddling, doing whatever, and finish this thing. But the good news is I did, because I'm here today, I didn't drown, and I caught that bug. I got completely addicted, so I did 3 more sprints last year in Olympic, which was twice the distance of that. And as the trend in the past was, I've now signed up for a half Ironman, thinking before, I used to think, when I was 240, that driving 42K would tire me out. I'd be exhausted, and then I've ran it, and now I'm looking at doing a half Ironman, and the addiction really continues. And I can honestly say that the energy level and my focus and confidence and everything else, like when I look back to, and I even see the pictures of what I look like when I was at my worst, it's just night and day. And I think it's had a huge change, and it's been a huge part of my life, because during this part-time MBA that a lot of us know, you're balancing work and you're balancing school and group projects and everything else, and it can just seem completely overwhelming, but it's nice to have that release, and this has really been that release for me. And I don't think without it that, it would, the other parts of my life might have fallen off without it. So that's my history of how I got to where I am today, and who knows, you might see me doing an Ironman eventually. That might be the next step for me. So thanks for listening. If you got any questions?